Welcome to Marketing at the Edge, where we explore how marketing must adapt to the pace of technological change. Today, we're diving into SEO's new frontier, AEO and GEO. Joining me today is Nina Kuhlman, a seasoned B2B marketing leader with a proven track record of driving revenue through demand generation, content strategy, and digital innovation across consulting, professional services, cybersecurity, and educational sectors. Now, I discovered Nina through a LinkedIn article she published on the evolving SEO landscape in the age of AI, an area I was actively exploring. Now, as marketers, we used to rely on the idea that 70% of the B2B buying journey was completed before a prospect ever spoke to sales. That reality really has shifted, and I knew I had to bring Nina onto the show to unpack what that transformation really means for all of us. So, welcome to Marketing at the Edge, Nina.
Thanks for having me, Michael. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So, Nina, you've worked in marketing across professional services, cybersecurity, education for the last many years. What really drew you into this evolving space where SEO and AI really now intersect?
Well, to build brand and demand as marketers, there's this huge need for great content.
Yes.
And that content has to be educational, it has to be relevant, and it has to meet buyers where they're at. And so for the last calendar year, since January, I've been using AI to help me with content outlines, data analysis, editing, consolidating copy. But I knew inherently and through my own AI research that AI was changing the game when it came to search. So I decided to really dig in and do some research and learn more, because I'm a content generator myself. So really, it's just a research process that I've been doing, learning how AI is changing the equation from what we publish to how we get found. So yeah, just kind of a research in progress.
So take us back to those early days, and we've all been a part of that. But how was SEO typically handled in your past roles? And when did you really notice the shift towards a more strategic, audience-first approach?
Well, we all know that SEO started off as something kind of more, I'd say, reactive versus proactive, where we'd add meta tags, backlinks, keywords into content that we've already created. But then, of course, we all shifted to become more, proactive, where you would create content that was intent driven, but we were really focused on that ranking, right? Like, so how can we rank high in Google? But with AI, that is something that's just totally changing the game because AI is becoming the middleman between someone searching for information and actually finding it. AI is disrupting. And so really, yeah, just through my own hands-on search, I was seeing that happening. And I knew it was time to look into it for my marketing teams that I've been running and any clients that I'm working for. And one of the things is you can see it in some of your KPIs. So things like featured snippets, zero-click visibility, AI mentions, these are new KPIs that you need to be looking at in your Google search to find out if you're being searched out and people are going straight to your website to find out more, or if they're finding out about you through AI.
And it's completely agreed, and it's amazing how many people I talk to that are still focused on search rankings. So let's kind of just talk briefly about, and you've addressed a little bit how AI has really disrupted traditional search behavior.
Right, that middleman approach. So
Yeah.
there's two areas that I've been looking at, and that's AEO and GEO. So any tools like Bing Chat, ChatGPT, we all know they're generating answers, not just a list of results. And so the behavior now are people expecting to search and get an answer, not just search and then click through to get their answer. They want to get the answer right away. So that is a big deal because AI is going to pull from different sources and you want to be one of those sources, your website, your content, etc. So AEO stands for Answer Engine Optimization. AEO stands for Answer Engine Optimization. I've had to go through this several times in my mind. I'm so used to saying SEO, but it's really optimizing your content so search engines and AI tools can pull clear, structured answers. And so that requires some question-based formatting, FAQs, schema markup, trust signals, things like that, that is actually going to give AI that exact information that you want it to answer when people are searching about your product or service. When it comes
So,
to, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so what are some of the I mean, you mentioned some of those tools. What have you seen? What are some of those tools that are really starting to help marketers to be able to accomplish that? Because it's not as intuitive as for me, I think about from a market or from a just a scientific research perspective, they write in this way, but as marketers, we don't.
Right, right. And I always relied on Yoast. I'm really someone who's worked a lot in WordPress. And so there's that level of Yoast that's available in WordPress. And I thought it was handling, the schema markup that was needed. But really what it comes down to is a basic level of Yoast will handle some basic schemas, but for AI, you need to take that to the next level. So there's schemas like FAQs, how-tos, there's different schemas that you can use. And so Yoast has a premium version that you could use. There's other tools like Merkle's Schema Generator, Screaming Frog. These are things that are tools that have great names, right? That can help you with that schema to make sure that your content is marked up appropriately.
So let's go into generative engine optimization or GEO. Now, what's the difference between AEO and GEO? And how can marketers know if their content is really showing up in these AI generated summaries?
Right. Well, so we said AEO is optimizing to extract answers, where GEO is actually composing, generating answers. So instead of writing content to rank on Google, you want your content to show up in these answers that ChatGPT is generating from its pull from all different sources. And so GEO, you need to be writing helpful, trustworthy content, content that's really easy for AI tools to understand and summarize. And you need to structure it in a way that answers the questions that people might ask. So to think about it like this, you're not just writing for human readers and bots anymore. You're writing for AI assistants that read your site, learn from it, and then help others. So it's really important to make sure you're credible, you write with clarity, you have great sources and backlinks, because that makes your credibility even higher. And so you can find out how you're ranking on these things by doing some searches just in ChatGPT, and then also tracking high impression and low click queries in your Google Search Console. So we're all moving now from clicks to credibility, and that's through GEO.
Yeah, you say we're all, but I don't think we all are. And that's why I love having these conversations.
Yeah.
So if you were a CMO or a content lead and they were listening right now, what's that one simple, meaningful thing they could do this month to really to adapt their content for AI?
Right, right. Well, it's as easy as doing some searches yourself. I mean, I think this is something simple that you can do as a marketer leading a team, or if you're a content strategist. And really, you go into Google and you ask it questions that your ideal buyer might ask. So, for example, what law firm has the best family office wealth planning practice in Chicago? Or who is the top executive coaching firm for the Fortune 500? These are professional services type examples. And then you want to see, is your site showing up as a featured snippet with the boxed answer at the top? Is your firm listed as a local business? And if you're not, you know that you're going to need to start optimizing your pages and of content that are visited the most. That means updating and adding FAQs, service hours, rankings, lists that you've made as a top professional service firm. So you also want to create new headings possibly in content. But for GEO, you can do the same thing. You want to see if your firm is mentioned by name. Is there a quote maybe from some of your content included? Is there a link to your site? And if you're not, it means that it's time for a content audit. So, this can sound like a lot to handle, but really everyone should be auditing their content on the regular. And these type of things don't take long. If you don't have the team member that can do it, you could always hire a freelancer to add things like FAQs and schema markup and some of the things we've been talking about.
That's probably going to be the key for marketers going forward to start thinking in the way of their prospects and their customers? What are those prompts they're asking? Because if they're not showing up, if you're not showing up, you don't exist.
Yeah.
So that's great. Any final advice for marketing leaders who are, watching this but aren't sure really how to start integrating AI into their strategy? I mean, what you just relayed is probably the best advice I've heard, but anything else you would add?
Well, I just, think we need to remember that SEO isn't going away. It's just kind of diverting into new paths, and it's gotten smarter. It's going to be faster. It's more conversational, more customer centric, like you mentioned. And I think the key is you need to be comfortable with AI, and that will allow your team to get comfortable with AI. And it's needs to be something that's in the forefront, not something that you're just going to add on later or, get to eventually. So that takes experimentation and a willingness to adapt and an open mind. For me, I started it in January, in the beginning of the new calendar year. I thought, new year, let's try a new approach and really embrace AI. But you can do that at any time. And I think as a senior marketer, you need to feel that way in order for your team to get on board as well.
No, that's excellent, Nina. So, first of all, thanks so much for tuning into this segment of Marketing at the Edge, SEO's new frontier. Now, I hope you walked away with fresh ideas on how to use AI tools to market faster, smarter, and at scale. Big shout out to my guest, Nina Kuhlman, for sharing practical and real world knowledge. Thank you so much, Nina.
You're very welcome. Glad I could be here.
Absolutely. And want to learn more from Nina? Give her a follow on LinkedIn. If you'd like, though, to revisit today's insights or explore some of the upcoming topics, stay connected at Marketing at the Edge. I'm Michael Elliott. Until next time.